So in our last class, we talked about making your text in an HTML document to be bold or to be in italicized format. So today I'll be talking on HTML lists. So before I do that, I want to introduce what we know as HTML comments. So there's a reason why you place comments in your web projects. If so, aside maybe web development, maybe programming in other languages like maybe Python, JavaScript, and the likes, it is good practice to always comment your code. Like that is, write some notes, just like documenting your code. So different language with different ways of making comments. So in trying to make a comment or to add a comment to your source code, there is a rule for doing that. So the way the syntax you use in Python when you want to make a comment is different from the syntax you use for a markup language like HTML. So for HTML, to add a comment to your source code, what you have to do is to click on the opening angle bracket first thing, then you add the exclamation mark, then 2 dash, then let's just give a space. That will be the content will go there. Then what you do again, 2 hyphen there, then you close it with a closing angle bracket. So if I should add this to my source code, I'm telling the web browser to ignore whatever that is there. The comment is just made for humans like me and you to understand. So if I should give you the source code, for instance, to work on or to continue on the project, once you see it, you know that I'm writing something of importance there. For instance, now today's class is working with HTML tables. So I could just do something like this, working with HTML tables. So I'll save that. So if I should reload this page right now, if I should open this page on my web browser, you are going to see that I'm working with HTML table will not be there. It is totally ignored by the web browser. It is only important to we, the programmers, or you, the users, or somebody that is trying to work on the source code. So you could give a space, you could not, but just make sure whatever you are doing or whatever method you are doing, it's something that is readable. I could as well enclose those white space there, or I could move like so. Just make sure that it is something that is easier for you to see or for you to read and for you to understand. So your browser is going to ignore everything here. So another way you can use HTML comment is to ignore a portion of your code. Since I said your web browser ignores whatever goes into the comment, there are sometimes where you are doing a testing on your source code and you want to ignore some certain portion of your code, or you want to stop some portion of your code from working. What you could do is that you could ignore everything in between a comment. You could ignore everything using a comment. For instance, record that, okay, from this H2 here, if you can see this header 2 here, this heading element here, all the way down to this paragraph element. I could ignore everything. I could do it in such a way that the browser is going to ignore everything that will appear here. So how can I go about that? I could use HTML comment to do that. So let's just use this for instance. Let me copy this opening HTML comment here. Let me cut it out and paste it here at the beginning. What can you see? You can see that everything here, it's the syntax, it is highlighted using gray format depending on the color of your laptop, but what it's telling you is that it is going to be ignored. So if I should save this now and I right click on it and I open it, nothing is going to show. Why? Because I've already commented out the tags in this source code. So if I should open the browser, you see that nothing will appear here. It's totally empty. So one of the ways you use comments is to document your code, to tell developers or your fellow programmer what you are trying to do. Another way is to ignore some portion of your code, because there are some changes that you don't want to make on your website. But if you do that, it might break your website as a whole. So those are the most popular ways or method of using HTML comments. So what I'll do is now I'll close this, then I will remove the opening comments. So I'll just cut it in and put it back here. You can see. So for today's class now, we are working with HTML tables. So just the way you have tables like in maybe your Excel spreadsheet or when you're carrying out manual operations. Tables are made up of rows and columns. So the rows are known as the horizontal section, while the columns are known as the vertical section. So you could do that. You could add a table to your web page when working with HTML. So one way of the most popular way, or in fact the method of doing it, is using the table tag. So what you have to do, and don't forget, some tags are self-enclosing, while some tags they are not self-enclosing, meaning you have to close it when you open it. So what we do now is our table here, auto suggestion is suggesting it for me. See now, I'll type the table element or the table tag, and don't forget it has a closing element, closing tag as well. So the closing tag has a forward slash after the initial opening bracket. So what we'll do now, for we to do that, we have to specify the rows in the table. So what I will do now, this, which stand for table row. So in this case now, I want to add like 4 rows to my table. So I could just copy this, like paste it 4 times just to include it. Let me add another one here. So TR row there stands for table row. Then for you to add the column to it in HTML, they don't call it column, they call it table data. So what we'll do now in this case, just for ease for you to understand what we are trying to do here. So what we'll do now, this is what we are going to do. So I have to add the table data, which some people call table, which some people call column, but in HTML you call it table data. So if, for instance, now I'm trying to add like 3 columns, right now I have table rows 4 here, this first one, then this, which is the second one, then this, the third one, then this, the fourth one. So these are known as what, the table row. So let me just quickly illustrate something to you guys. So let me spin up Microsoft Paint right now and show you. For now, this is what we have. We have this, like I said we just added 4 rows. Yeah, these are the rows here for what we've done so far. So how many rows can you see here? 1, 2, 3. Then the last one here, which is 4. So this is a table. Let me just. So let me use eraser to erase this part. So the table row, the 4 table row elements we added, this is what is going to show 1, 2, 3, 4. But right now we want to add like 3 columns to it. In this case, we'll use what is known as table data. So how are we going to do that? So this is what we'll do now. If I should add table data, instead of your table to look like this, I'm going to add something like this. Yeah. If I should specify that we are adding 3 table data, these are the 3 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's do that using HTML. So what we are going to do now, let me go back to my Sublime Text here. So the first one here is TD for table data, which is the first one. So let me just, to avoid repetitive typing, let me just add it and post it here. So this is the first table data for the first one. So I'm going to add 3 for each row. I'm adding 3 columns. So for the third one here, so make sure you practice this after this class. Very important. Then I want to add another one here. So you can just make sure your code is appealing to the eye, but the computer actually doesn't really care how it looks to the eye. We just know that it's going to render it for you. So I'll add this. So I'll save this. So we have 3 columns for the first row. 3 columns, which are the table data for the second row, 3 columns for the third row, and 3 columns as well for the fourth row. So I'll save this, then I'll right click on it and open, and I'll click on open with a web browser. You can't see anything here. Why? Because we are going to use CSS to style the border, but let me just add some content to it so that you see it. But it is actually present here, but I'll add some content to the table so that you know how it is. So let me just, I don't want to go into CSS, but with CSS, you can increase the border so that you can see the border for the table. So let me add some content to it. Let's assume this is, let's say, sorry, pardon. Let's say this is first name. Last name, and let me add age to this. So I'll save this just to test run. Let me go back to the web page and let me refresh. You are going to see here first name, last name, and age. Just imagine there's an invisible a line you are seeing that is separating the first name here, one line here, the last name, and the age. But because this is just an HTML class, I don't want to go into styling with CSS whereby I'll make the border to be thick or to appear in a different format. I'm not going to that, but just know that you are trying to create a table. So let me just add some dummy text here. So I could just add text here. Just let me just fill in any random. So remember I said, you know, on Monday class, we are going to be building a CV. So your CV, you could just use a table to create some portion of your CV, like your work experience, the company, and the dates in which you work there. So this is how you do it. So I'm just adding a dummy data to it. So when you get home, you can just practice and add something else or whatever you want to put there. Sorry about that. Just here. So I'll save this and let me go back to the web page and let me refresh. As you can see now, this is a table. Your first name, your last name, and your age. You use a table most especially when you want to structure your web page. There are some data that you want to render on your web page and it needs to be structured. Don't forget, data can come in different formats. Or data can be structured data, unstructured, or semi-structured, depending as the case may be. But there are some cases whereby you need to use a table. And that's why I'm showing you how to implement a table on your web page. So during the when we get to the CSS part, I'm going to show you how to style your table. Then also how you are going to add some element to your table to make your table more appealing and more nice looking. So I'll close this for now. So this is one method of adding a table to your web page. There's also another method. So working with HTML table, then let me put this in brackets. Method 1. So I'll copy these comments right now. Then let me add it here. So this, what I've done so far, this is the first method of adding a table to your website. There's also another method. So, you know, as technology advances, we most likely they come up with a better and efficient method of doing things. So this is one method which I've showed you before, you work with the table. There's also another method. Another method of doing that is this. So what I'll do now, I'll just copy everything here. So I'll paste it here. So let me just remove this. So a table usually is made up of usually 2 to 3 parts. So the first part here is what we know as the table head here, which is for the stand for table head here. Sorry about that. So table head here, don't forget, we are going to close this table head. Then also a table has a body there. So I'll say T body here. So let me just Then also another part. So let me section this just to make it. And let me add the last part here. So yeah, I'll explain each and every element inside the table element. So this T here is the table header. Then this T body here is the body of the table. Then this T foot here is the footer. The footer is not mandatory. It's just like adding a caption to your image. You know, most time when you see an image, for instance, you see the image will be captioned. So the T foot is not compulsory. You can add it, you can. You might add it and you might also decide to ignore it as well. But just know that the two most important elements for the table is the table head and the table body. So the table foot is not mandatory, it's not compulsory. You can ignore it. So we just ignore that for this, but just know that it is possible to add a footer to your table. So I just remove this here. So what we'll do now for the table head here. So what we're going to do now is we'll add some elements inside the table element here. So yeah, instead of using T arrow, don't forget, instead of using T arrow for table rule, in this case, inside the head section, we are going to use TH, which stands for T head here. So I'll do a / here and I'll add a TH here. Then, so what we'll do now, don't forget, using the second method, instead of T arrow, which stands for table rule, you are using TH. And you'll notice the difference when I render, you are using TH. So what we're going to do now, I'll just copy this table data here inside. Then I'll put it here. So let me just indent so that it will make, so the T head, using T head here, which stands for table head. So inside the table head, instead of using T arrow, which stands for table row, you are using TH. Don't forget, you only use TH inside the table head opening and closing tag, this THED and this other one with in between the opening and the closing tag. While for the table body, every other thing remains. So instead of using TH for the table body, you are going to use table row. So I'll copy this. Then for the body, then I'll just add this here. So don't forget, indent it so that it will make your code more appealing to the eyes for the table rule. So I'll save this, then I'll go back to the web page here, or let me just open in browser. Sorry, I didn't add some element to it. Let me fill it up. T-body, so let me just add this to it. So let me refresh this right now. So for the age, we didn't add anything to it. So test. Let's see. So let me just walk through everything here. So I said the second method of doing it, basically you still get the same thing. It's just that there are some times whereby you want to style maybe only the header of your table. Let's say, for instance, now this is a table right now, and you want to make only the text here, this first name, last name, and age. You want to make it to be in bold or to be in another font size, or maybe you have a long list of table and you have to scroll through your table. So you could make the table head to be fixed while you are scrolling through the body of your table. So this is the second way of adding a table to your HTML document. So don't forget, in doing this, in using this first method, the only difference between the first and the second method is that in the first method, you are specifying the table head. In the first method, you are just adding a table row. So depending on the number of rows that you need, in this case, we added 3 rows. Then inside the 3 rows, then we are also adding a column. For you to add a column to your web page, instead of using in HTML, you use TD, which stands for table data. So if I should add another TD element here, it means I'm adding 4 columns. But in this case, it's just 3 I specified. This one, the first one, then this, the second one, and this also, the third one. Then this for the first row, this stands for the first row, then this for the second row with 3 columns as well. Then this here, then this for the third row, yeah, and lastly this. So we have the first row, the second row, the third row, and the fourth row with 3 columns, the first column, second column, and third column. Like I said, the second way of doing it is adding the head section of your table here, the body section, the head section, the body section, and what you could add the table footer if you want, but it is not compulsory. So I said for the body section, still the same method still applies to using the first method. So you just specify the table row, in this case, first row, second row, and the third row, all inside the table body. So you could indent it if you want, just to make your code more appealing to the eyes here. So that it will be structured to your eyes when you see it. So I said inside the table head, all you just have to do is to add the TH element, this to specify that this is the header. Then inside there, all you have to do is to specify using the TD, which stands for table data. So when you get home after this class, just in case if you can't fully grasp everything, you just have to rewatch the video. So let's just open it and refresh in the browser, and it's basically you are getting the same thing depending on what you do. So during the CSS portion of the class, we are going to be using CSS to style the table and to make the table more appealing to the eyes. So that will be all for the class. So I'm going to open the I'm going to unmute you guys. So for those that have a question, so that you can ask the question that you want to. So if you have any question, please unmute yourself. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask me a question if in case you don't understand what I've done so. Hello, good evening. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Okay.
The table head is the table row not supposed to be inside, so I don't know.
I said if you see, I gave you 2 methods of doing it. I could have given you the first method and I'll tell you to ignore the second method. I said for the first method, you are using table row all through. Can you see my screen? TRO for table row. In this case, the first table row here, which has the opening and the closing table row. Then the second one here, from here down to this place. Then the third one here, you understand? But I said I'll give you like 2 methods of doing the same thing. So it's now up to you to choose which method you prefer or which method you want to. So I said the difference between the first method and the second method is that in the first method, you are using your table row elements to do everything. While for the second method, you are using table head. You have inside the table element, you have table head here, THED. You have the table body. Then inside the table head, you specify the table data and the other elements too. But I said the first one has its own limitation, while the second one has its own strength and weakness. I said if you are using the first method, it has a limitation in the sense that you can't style some certain element of your web page of the table. But if you're using the second method, I could apply the design to only the head section of my table and ignore the body section. You understand? Just like you building a house and I want to paint only the outside of the house, then inside I don't want to paint it. You understand? But if you are using the first method, anything you do to the table, it affects everything. You understand? So if you're here, if you started the class with us, like right from the beginning, you understand why I said you have two methods. So it's now a matter of choice, which of the method you want to do and which of the method you prefer using. So am I clear on that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Is there any other person have any question? Please speak up if you have any question. So also, let me just add something to read. There's another method of doing something. For instance, now, like I want to make this first name, last name, and the age. That is for the this method too. Sorry, let me add this method to it. Let's say for instance, I want the first name to be in bold, the last name to be in bold, and the age to be in bold. So recall when I said with this second method, you could as well style your table. So instead of adding this th here, I could as well use also the table row here. Then I'll change this to table row. I'm just maintaining consistency. Then instead of using td, I'm going to use th, which stands for table head. So there are many methods of doing the same thing. So I'm just trying to give you options, but just stick to one for now. Then you could now make use of others. So I'll just make this th. I'll make you this th as well. So instead of using table data, I'll make this th. I'll make this th. So I'll save this. The difference between this method and the previous method is that it's going to make the first name, the last name, and the age to be in bold font. That is, it's going to be, the text is going to appear thicker compared to others. So all you're just need to do, let me save this. Then let me go back to my web page. I have not refreshed yet, but if I should refresh, you're going to see that this first name, the last name, and the age is going to be in bold. So if I should click on it, what can you see here? First name, last name, and age. Can you see the difference? Can you guys notice the difference? So there are different methods of doing, but for the sake of this class, I don't want to bore you guys or give you a lot of methods of doing the same thing. So just stick with what you want or the one that you prefer using the most and work with it. You notice this second method here, I was able to style only the heading, in this case, first name, last name, and age. But using the first method, the text, which is not in bold, it applies to everything on this first table. But using the second method, I could style loading the heading, then leave the body. I could as well, using the second method, style only the body and leave the head. You can notice the difference. So just go back and rewatch this video. And I said, this is a table. Just know that there's an imaginary line here. If I should right click on it, let me just show you guys something. If I should right click on it and I click on insert, then I'll click on this and element. You can see this is a table. Yeah. So this is a table. You can see now, check on my web page. This is a table. That's why you're seeing the opening tag, table tag, and the closing table tag. So I said I don't want to style. If possible, avoid as much as possible, avoid styling your web page. That is giving it color and the rest using HTML. Focus on using CSS only to style your web page. Yes. So take that from me. Avoid styling your web page using HTML. HTML is just for the content. Yes, content and structure. Why you use CSS for styling your web page? So this is another method of doing that. So second method is that all other things remain table row, table row, table row. But for the heading, instead of using TD, we stand for table data, we are using TH. Notice the difference between this and this is that in this case, this is TH, while in this other case, this is TD, which stands for table data. So just know the difference between them. So these are the two methods. One is the first method is you are not specifying the table head and the table body and the T foot section. While the second method is that you are specifying the T head, the T body. Then I also made mention that you could as well add the footer to it. So T foot here, but it is not compulsory. Your website must not have a table foot element. So I'll close this. So I'll close it. But this table foot, it is not mandatory. If you like, you can add it. If you like, don't. So I hope I'm clear with that. So is there any other question? If there's any person here that have any other question that you want to ask, please do. I think we have 6 minutes left for this class. And, if there's any question, okay, let me pick on somebody. Kingsley, please, if you are there, please unmute yourself. If you are there with us, or if you are here with us, Kingsley, please unmute yourself.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, how are you doing?
I'm good, and you?
I'm doing great. So far, for most we've discussed so far, from the beginning of the class, that is today's class, were you able to understand what I taught?
Yes, it's very clear. I don't have any question.
Okay, is there any contribution? Do you have anything to add to it?
It's just that, there's a lot of things at the same time. So
yes,
I'll need to take time again and then redo them,
refresh and go back to it. Yeah, that's good.
Yes,
the essence of okay, because I could just like record a video, and instead of you guys coming 8 to 9, I could just like send you the link to it. But the essence of having a Zoom class is just in case you have a question, so that you could as well ask me the question. So, but it's all good. So, is there another person? I see Mr. Acid versus
Yes,
Acid.
good evening. Yes, good evening. How does the indentation work?
Indentation is if you want to indent your code, you just need to press the tab key, like take your cursor to where you want to indent and click on the tab button. Click on it once, it moves it like some spaces to the right. You understand? The reason why I'm just doing this so that when you see it, you can be able to use your eye to section the code and know that okay, from here to here is inside this table head. From this other place here is inside the table body. Why this table data here is inside the table row, just to make it appealing to you. But the browser doesn't care whether you indent or not, but just to make sure that your code is clean and human readable. So that's the essence. You use the tab key, AB. It's at the top left side of your keyboard. Tab is spelled as TAB. Is the TAB. Look for it on your keyboard, and that's what you use for indentation.
Understood. Thank you.
No problem. Is there another person that have any question? Please ask. We have 3 minutes 57 seconds left. So if there's any further question, see you guys on. Okay, today is Wednesday. The last class will be on the last class for this week will be on Friday. So see you guys on Friday, and make sure you practice everything I've taught, and happy learning. Bye-bye.